The Galactic Council had rules about military intervention, protocols, procedures, a carefully balanced system ensuring no single species could abuse their power. Humanity had been members for only 15 years, and the Council had been cautious. Humans were unerringly aggressive by galactic standards. Their warships were heavily armed nightmares that made peaceful species uncomfortable. During admission hearings, the Terran delegate had actually argued that their weapons were restrained by our standards. The Council had quietly categorized humanity's fleet as contained threat and made a note: monitor closely. Avoid military cooperation. Then the Yevran system went dark. The Yevran were herbivorous, pacifistic, and utterly unprepared when the Zolthrine swarm emerged from deep space. Biological horrors that consumed everything organic, growing stronger with each world devoured. The Yevran's desperate SOS reached the Council. 7 billion souls trapped on 3 worlds, with a swarm closing in. The Council convened emergency sessions. They calculated fleet response times, debated jurisdictional authority, discussed resource allocation. The nearest Council peacekeeping fleet could arrive in 12 days. Yevran would fall in 4. Council Speaker Morith addressed the Assembly with heavy hearts. We cannot reach them in time. I propose we already handled. Every head turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Rodriguez stood casually, checking her datapad. Excuse me. Morith's translator struggled with the concept. The Terran Defense Fleet received the Yevran SOS 40 minutes ago. Our ships are already en route. ETA, 73 hours. The Council chamber erupted. The Zinthari representative scales flushed red with alarm. You cannot deploy military assets without Council. Which protocols? Rodriguez interrupted, genuinely curious. The ones about humanitarian intervention? We read those. They say we should help. Or the ones about military deployment requiring consensus. Those specify Council military assets. These are our ships. This is exactly why we don't want predator species in military roles, the Zinthari hissed. You're too aggressive, too quick to violence. 7 billion Yevran are about to be eaten alive, Rodriguez said flatly. You want to debate procedure or save lives? Because humans picked option 2. The Council had no choice but to watch. What arrived at Yevran space made the monitoring stations censor scream warnings. 20 human warships dropped out of FTL in a formation the Zolthrine swarm couldn't comprehend. These weren't the sleek, elegant vessels other species built. These were brutal, angular things covered in weapons that looked like they'd been designed by species that understood violence intimately. Because they had been. Admiral Kwame of the Apex Predator. The name itself had horrified the Council during registration. Open communications with the Yevran. We're here. Stay inside. This won't take long. The Zolthrine swarm had consumed 14 species. They'd learned to expect panic, desperate defenses, and, eventually, submission. The humans attacked like sharks, scenting blood. No warnings. No negotiations. The fleet didn't try to contain the swarm or drive it off. They hunted it. Each Zolthrine organism was tracked, targeted, and systematically destroyed. When the creatures tried their usual tactic, overwhelming numbers, they discovered humans had evolved specifically to handle threats through persistent, coordinated pack tactics. The swarm tried to retreat. Humans pursued. They tried to scatter. Humans split their fleet and ran down every single organism. When one Zolthrine cluster managed to land on Yevran 2's moon, human marines deployed in armor and cleared it in 6 hours with 0 civilian casualties. The entire engagement lasted 19 hours. The Zolthrine swarm, which had terrorized the Outer Rim for a century, was extinct. Council Speaker Morith watched the after-action reports in stunned silence. The human fleet hadn't just won. They'd hunted with the efficiency of apex predators, eliminating a threat to their territory. They saved 7 billion lives, his aide whispered. I know. Morith studied the tactical recordings. That's what terrifies me. When Ambassador Rodriguez returned to the Council, the chamber was silent. Finally, the Zinthari spoke, voice subdued. Why? The Yevran are nothing to you. No treaties, no trade agreements. Why risk your ships, your people? Rodriguez looked genuinely confused by the question. Because they asked for help. What else matters? That's when the Galactic Council understood their fundamental error. They'd categorized humans as dangerous because of their weapons and aggression. They should have been worried about something far more terrifying. Humanity's absolute conviction that hearing a cry for help was sufficient justification to unleash those weapons without hesitation. The Council revised their assessment. Humanity's Predator fleet wasn't a contained threat. It was the galaxy's emergency response team. And everyone slept better knowing the monsters had the monsters on speed dial.